With news constantly coming out about the filming of the highly anticipated Dune, Part 2, director Denis Villeneuve is always a hot topic. The Canadian filmmaker has risen to become one of the most acclaimed and accomplished directors of the past decade or so, with every film receiving positive reviews. While his visual style and the intriguing scripts are always part of his success, he's also a filmmaker who has the ability to bring out fantastic efforts from his cast. Nearly every actor who stars in his movies delivers strong performances, but a handful have stood out as the best of the bunch. Ana de Armas, Blade Runner 2049. Over the past few years, Ana de Armas has quickly become a rising star in Hollywood. Her roles in Knives Out and No Time to Die are examples of major parts, but it kind of all started with Blade Runner 2049. Though it wasn't her first performance, it's the one that made de Armas a breakout star of sorts. In the film, she plays Joy, an artificial intelligence projected as a hologram who has a romance with the protagonist, Kay. Ana de Armas impressed by bringing a level of humanity to a character that isn't human. She was so good that she earned a Saturn Award nomination. Hugh Jackman, Prisoners. The Chilling Prisoners is one of the most intense mystery films made in recent memory. As much as the premise and Villeneuve's direction play a part in that, the whole thing is grounded by the performances of the cast. Hugh Jackman is given a lot to work with as the grieving father dealing with the fact that his daughter has been kidnapped. The desperation Jackman showcases in every scene as Keller Dover is palpable and makes the audience understand the things he does, even when they're of a criminal nature. Harrison Ford, Blade Runner 2049. Bringing back Harrison Ford, the star of the original Blade Runner, for the sequel was a huge get. It allowed the films to connect more than many people expected, and thankfully, Ford's role wasn't simply a cameo for longtime fans to appreciate. He got an actual storyline as the returning Rick Deckard and was possibly better than ever in the role. You could tell that this was a character who had been through a lot, and that was all thanks to Ford's Saturn Award-nominated efforts on the screen. Timothée Chalamet, Dune. Remaking Dune on the big screen was a monumental effort, especially considering the mixed response for the 1984 original and how much information is in the 1965 novel. However, Denis Villeneuve managed to pull it off with the 2021 iteration starring the talented Timothée Chalamet. Taking on the role of Paul Atreides, Chalamet brought the character to life with the anxiety over his position and eventually with the confidence to become the leader he needed to be. Chalamet scored nominations at the Saturn Awards and Critics' Choice Super Awards for his work. Emily Blunt, Sicario. While the majority of Villeneuve's recent projects have been in the sci-fi genre, he brought an intense action thriller to life with Sicario. Filled with morally gray characters, the protagonist needed to be someone who the audience could root for. They got that in Kate Mercer, played spectacularly by Emily Blunt. The talented actress was up for 8 different awards for the way she presented Kate as a woman who was in a way too dangerous situation yet always found a way to display strength. Ryan Gosling, Blade Runner 2049. To bring Blade Runner 2049 to life, the film needed a standout protagonist, and Ryan Gosling delivered. He had the difficult task of portraying Kay, a replicant who hunted down older models, yet he still needed to make him human enough for the audience to relate to. Gosling did just that and showcased remarkable chemistry with Ana de Armas. They birthed a romantic relationship that felt realistic despite neither character being a true human. Like his co-stars, Gosling was up for a Saturn Award for his performance. Benicio del Toro, Sicario. Emily Blunt certainly grounded things in Sicario, and that was needed because of how wild pretty much everything else was. A big reason for the madness of the film came from Alejandro Gillick, a former prosecutor who was now working as an assassin. Benicio del Toro played the character with a perfect performance of someone who was somehow both unhinged and totally in control. Alejandro was unpredictable to everyone around him, yet came across as cooler than everyone in the room. For his work, Del Toro was up for a handful of awards, including a BAFTA. Jake Gyllenhaal, Prisoners. To play off of the out-of-control Hugh Jackman, Prisoners needed someone who could do his best to keep calm in tough situations. That character was Detective Loki, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who has actually worked with Denis Villeneuve a few times. While nearly every review of the film was positive, they all also often made sure to specifically praise Gyllenhaal's performance. It was the perfect balancing act opposite Jackman, and for his work, Gyllenhaal was in contention for a Satellite Award. Rebecca Ferguson, Dune. Dune is filled with so many strong performances that finding a way to stand out is extremely difficult. With a cast featuring Oscar Isaac, Zendaya, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa, and so many others, being at the top of the list is nearly impossible. However, Rebecca Ferguson pulled off that impressive feat as Lady Jessica, the mother of the protagonist. The relationship she forges with Paul is the heart of the film, and she comes across as someone who is both wise and tough. She manages to somehow steal the show. Amy Adams, Arrival. Denis Villeneuve films tend to have a big scope and a premise that hooks viewers, but they're always highlighted by the character stories. That's especially true with Arrival, which centers on a linguist named Louise Banks, played by Amy Adams. Everything about her performance is important, from how tough it is to not be taken seriously by those around her to the crushing loss of her daughter to the absurd situation she's stuck in. Adams does some of her best acting, which is saying something, in this film, which is why she was nominated for a BAFTA and Golden Globe, among other accolades.